Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I have been working on this video all day. I am finally doing this. I've been wanting to do it for a while, but I am going to do a palette ranking video. And I know ranking videos are pretty popular, and I've been wanting to do this one specifically for a bit because I saw Samantha March do it way earlier this year and I really loved it. So I'm like, I want to do this sometime, so I've been planning on it, but then I just kept getting more and more palettes and eventually I guess kept getting put off, but I'm finally doing it today. And this is going to be ranking my 2020 palettes, so not my entire palette collection because we would be here for an hour if I did that, and I feel like that would be very hard to rank my whole palette collection, but basically all the new palettes of 2020 that I have tried for a good amount of time that I feel comfortable being able to rank. There's going to be a few that aren't in here that I've maybe only used once or twice that I don't really feel comfortable putting in a spot, so those I didn't include. But yes, this is only new 2020 releases, and I thought this would be a good time to upload it because everyone's kind of looking for ideas to get during the Sephora VIB sale where they do like up to 20% off. Everyone's always looking for new palettes and maybe Christmas gift ideas as well, so you can see what I'm not a big fan of and what I really love. I believe I have 35 total that we're going to talk about today. Some of them are grouped in one because it's like a collection, but there's going to be a 35 all the way to number 1. So we're gonna go low to high here so we can build up the anticipation. All of these will be linked down below if you're interested in any of them. If they are available, some might be limited edition, but I think most of these are available still. Alright, let me start with my least ranked palette in my collection. At number 35 are these Essence palettes. Unfortunately, I do really like Essence as a brand, but I don't know, I just did not get along with these palettes. They had 4 of them in this collection. I've since declared the other one. Testing this one out, the Earth palette, I've used a few times and it lacks so much for me. It's an all shimmer palette and I feel like this really would have ranked higher if it had a few more mattes in here because I think the shimmers are pretty, but it's just very basic. Like there's not a whole lot that you can do with it in my opinion. So for me, this ranks pretty low, and the other palettes in this collection were very light tones as well, and I've heard not so great things about them in general. So even though, yes, it is drugstore, it is more affordable, I think these are still like 10 bucks, and I would much rather buy a Colourpop palette for that than buy this. I'm not a fan, so this one is last for me, and I'll probably end up decluttering that. Next up, number 34 is from OMFG Cosmetics. Unfortunately, this one ranks pretty low on my list, but it is so cute. Like, if I could rank on packaging alone, this would definitely be in the top 10. But this is their Sugar and Sweets palette, and they are an indie brand, so I hate ranking them lower, but honestly, I really never reach for this. I don't love the matte formula in here. They're very powdery and they take a lot of building up, which I know is pretty typical for pastels. But I just didn't think this was anything special, so unfortunately this one ranks in at number 34, pretty low on the list. Alright, it's coming in at number 33, and sorry if I mess up the numbers. Just know I'm going to be typing the numbers on the bottom here too, so those will be accurate in case I mess up or forget a number or something like that. So this one, unfortunately, is the Patrick Star One Size brand from Sephora. This is the Visionary palette. I had such high hopes for this, and I think my expectations were a little bit high, so I felt really disappointed while using this. It was just really nothing out of this world that I was expecting, and I really had some trouble blending the darker mattes in here, especially the shade Matcha, and some of the dark browns get very patchy. It's a very dry formula. If the mattes really don't blend well in a palette, it really throws it off for me, and I just won't use it because it's very frustrating when I feel like I have to take extra time to make sure my eyeshadows are blending okay. So for me, this one wasn't really a good one. I think there's much more better palettes out there for the money, and this one was kind of pricey. Yeah, I think the formula does need to be improved, especially with the mattes. The shimmers were really beautiful, but it was nothing spectacular, so this one ranks in kind of low on the list. Coming in at number 32, I have on this sticky note here because I have since decluttered these palettes, but these are the Fenty like Snap Shadow palettes, and I bought these at the beginning of the year when they released. I was really excited to try them. They looked so cute. I love mini palettes, but these were definitely a disappointment for me, and to be honest, I feel like the formula on these are really similar to the Patrick Star brand. So they're both Sephora brands, so I'm like, is something going on here? Are they using the same formula? Because I feel like I had the same issues with these where the mattes just really were not very blendable, very patchy and dry feeling. So these really didn't wow me, but I did rank these up just a little bit higher than the Patrick Star since they are cheaper. I think they're like $20 something, and they do have a cool concept where it's kind of unique. You can snap the palettes together and kind of create your own, and it's great for traveling as well. So the backs snap together, so one side you could do like a pink palette, the other side you could do a neutral palette, so that gets extra brownie points for me. So I did rank it up a little bit higher, but still I personally wouldn't recommend them unless maybe they change up their formula a bit. I know they came out with some new ones for holiday this year, so I have to see if anyone's liking those and what they think, but I just don't think they're anything special. Next one I grouped together. These are the new Huda Beauty Haze Obsessions palettes. I did a whole review on these, and you guys know I wasn't really a fan of them. Unfortunately, the formula on this is just not great. Like, I feel like the purple one was pretty bad. The shimmers were not showing up. The mattes especially too in here, they look like they would show up, like they look like they have some deeper tones, but really they were so light on the eyes. So that one was the worst. But then second place was, I would say, the Khaki Haze, because this one I had a lot of problems blending with the dark browns in here, even though I love the color scheme. If it doesn't blend well, it's a no for me. And then this one was the best, the Sand Haze, but this one's just so repetitive to other palettes that they have already, like the new Nudes collection. I just didn't think it was really something that I needed to have, so these disappointed me quite a lot. So I put them all together in one at number 31, and I definitely would not recommend getting these. Just not a fan. If you're wanting to try Huda, I would go for the bigger palettes she has. Even though they are a bit pricier, they just perform better to me. Alright, we are on number 30, which these are also grouped together. These are from Wet n Wild, and a lot of you guys really loved this video I did with these palettes. It's from the Hello Kitty or Sanrio collection, so these are the My Melody and Kuromi palettes, and to be honest, these are pretty good for drugstore, but they're not something I really reach for in my collection. I mean, they're pretty affordable, but again, if it's something I'm not reaching for, if it doesn't perform as well as some of my other palettes, even though I did pay less for it, I don't think I could put it up there just because of the price if I'm not using them. So I thought they were just okay. I mean, the colors did show up with them. They were pretty. I do prefer the Kuromi one. I feel like I got more color payoff with that. And there is some really pretty shimmers in these. I definitely have a lot better palettes that I like more in my collection. Okay, number 29. This is from Juvia's Place, and this is just one of them. This is the Taupes by Juvia's, and I'm not including her other palettes in this group. This is really the only one I've had a chance to try really well. So the other ones I don't have in this video that I have. I still need to try those. Those could perform way better, but specifically the Taupes palette, I just did not care for. I did a video with this one as well, and the look was gorgeous. I feel like the shimmers in here are stunning, but the mattes in here are very light. They look like they would be dark enough looking at them in the pan, but I just felt like I had to keep building and building to get any color payoff. So they were pretty light for me, so that's why I ranked it lower. It is a really pretty cool tone palette, but I have a lot more cool tone palettes in my collection that I prefer over this one, so I would not really suggest that one. Number 28. This one's a little bit dirty. This is the Alter Ego Artemis palette. Now, I do think Alter Ego makes some really nice dupe palettes. I don't know if I'm a big fan necessarily of dupes because it is a total copy. If they kind of made it their own, I think that would be nice. This is a dupe for the Natasha Denona Metropolis, which I already didn't love that palette in the first place, so since this is a dupe for it, I don't love this one either. Some of the mattes have a very weird formula that I'm not quite used to. It's almost a weird cream that you have to build, like kind of blend out, so it was a little bit hard to work with in that way. So I'm not the biggest fan of the mattes in this palette. The shimmers are really pretty, but yeah, since I'm not a big fan of the Metropolis, I just think there's too much going on with it. I would have liked it maybe in a smaller palette. That's why I ranked this one a little bit lower, and since it is kind of a copy palette. Okay, I think we are at 27. This one is from Colourpop. This one has super cute packaging too. It like moves around, but this is the Sailor Moon palette from them. I do notice they do keep restocking this one if you're wanting to get it. And it has like the scratchy I don't know what you call this, textured front. I think the color scheme of this one is really pretty, but I just don't use it a lot. It's kind of hard for me to come up with looks with this one, but I have tried it a couple times. The mattes in here are a little bit dry, but I do feel like they are pigmented. I think it's a decent palette, but it's definitely not my all-time favorite from Colourpop. I think there's definitely better ones out there, but I do think this one is pretty cute, and if you are a Sailor Moon fan, I mean, it's nice to have. So that's why this one's kind of middle lower tier, just because I really don't use this one as much as some of my other Colourpop palettes. Number 26 is this one from Charlotte Tilbury. So this one I really don't use a lot either, to be honest. It's a very basic color scheme, and I'm just not impressed. I like a really popping bright shimmer, very metallic, and these ones aren't that great. They're just kind of blah. The mattes are really nice though. They blend out really good. I mean, the quality of this is decent, but it's the price for me. Sorry, I'm gonna stop blending now, but yeah, the price on this, it's like $75. I just don't think it is worth that high of a price, and that is why it is very hard for me to buy Charlotte Tilbury eyeshadows, because I much prefer, if I'm gonna buy luxury, I'm gonna buy Natasha Denona. That's always my go-to, and that one ranks a little bit lower on the list because I just don't think it's worth the price. Number 25, this one's from Urban Decay. This is the Naked Ultra Violet. I had some very high expectations with this one too, and honestly this palette would have been amazing if it would have had some nicer mattes in it. There's just a lot of shimmers going on, and I don't really love the mattes they chose. They chose these two light ones, which, come on, we need to have some middle ground, and if they had a darker purple for the crease or outer corner, I would have been so happy, but they really didn't do that, and it kind of annoys me. I did create some really pretty looks with this one, and I don't think it's like a bad formula, but it needs more from me to be something I'm going to be excited about using and grabbing more in my collection, because since I don't have the depth, I just don't reach for it, unfortunately. So that one ranks a little bit lower. All right, I think we are at 24, and I put these little Tartelette palettes here. This is a holiday set. I did a review on these, and I haven't tried Tarte eyeshadow for a while, so I thought that these were decent, but they're not like OMG, like a must-have. I just think they are okay. They're nice for a neutral look. Quality was good on these, and I think they're fun if you don't already have any of the Tartelette palettes. So we have this little Bloom one, the little Toasted, and then my favorite one is actually the little Juicy palette. I thought this one was really gorgeous. So I can't wait to see if they come out with a full size of that. But yeah, these are just kind of middle ground for me. They're fun to have, but they're not necessarily something I'm going to reach for all the time or a favorite in my collection. For number 23, I have the Pure Trolls palettes. Now these are really cute, and if you can get them at TJ Maxx for $5, it's such a steal. I think these are really decent quality. I think you can honestly get them on clearance at a lot of websites. They just really didn't sell well, but the quality on them is really good. I'm not usually a huge fan of pure shadows, but the colors on here show up really well. They're very smooth. The shimmers in here are very pretty, and I would probably put them all in this category, like all the colors, but so far I've only tried this pop one, but I've swatched the other ones and I feel like they're going to be the same quality. But yes, I really enjoyed the pop palette from them. It's gorgeous, swatches amazingly, so this one also is kind of in the middle for me. It's a nice, just like quick colorful palette you can create an easy look with doing something colorful instead of basic neutral, so I did rank that one in the middle. Okay, number 22 is this one from Jeffree Star. Now I have since stopped buying Jeffree Star products, but I do have still a few in my collection and some that I've tried this year, so I did want to include them in the ranking. This one is the Bloodlust. The packaging on this is just so dramatic, honestly. There's not really a good place to store it, and it collects cat hair like crazy, because my cat sheds a lot. But this is the palette. I think it is really gorgeous. If you guys like purples, this is a nice purple palette. I did have some blending issues with the darker shades in this palette, and a lot of people really didn't think there was enough purple in it when it came out, but I really think there is a lot, and I feel like the shimmers in here are very unique, so I don't think this is a bad palette, but it does kind of have some issues with it that doesn't make it in the top for me. I do think it is pretty decent, so it's kind of middle ground. Next up, I have some Colourpop ones. This one is the Little Ray of Sunshine. This is a newer one for me, but I do think it is a really pretty one, and I do really enjoy Colourpop palettes, especially for the price, so they tend to rank pretty high in these videos for me. But this is an all matte palette, and I really enjoy golds and yellow tones, so I kind of think this is going to be a perfect palette to mix with my Honey palette. And you can use the mattes and then throw something on, like one of their Super Shock shadows on the lid. It creates a nice look, but it's not like top tier for me because once again it is an all matte palette, and sometimes I just like to have an all-in-one kind of thing where I don't have to reach for something else. But you can definitely do an all matte look with it, but I do think the quality in this one is really good. So you kind of have to have a specific look for this one, so it's in the middle. And then I did rank this one spot higher at number 20. This is the Garden Variety palette. I think this one is really pretty. It has some beautiful shades in here. I love that you kind of have pinks, purples, greens, just a little bit of everything, and this one was really great quality as well. And you have some deep tones, mid-tones, and lighter tones, so it just has everything that I want for me. And yeah, I thought it performed really well, so this one's great. Definitely recommend, but it is in the middle. Okay, next is the Urban Decay Stoned Vibes. There's not really much to say with these middle tier ones. I think they're good, but they're just not like my top tier. And this one's good as well, but the only drawback for me was, again, the mattes in here. I don't know, Urban Decay needs to work on their mattes. They need some darker tones in these palettes, and these did not do it for me. I did not like pairing these kind of shades with the shimmers in here. So for me, I just use this as a lid topper kind of shade. I really do like these glittery shades in here. I wouldn't say they're necessarily a glitter. They're more of a shimmer, and I think that they really pop on the lids. I do feel like this is a really pretty palette for Urban Decay. I would rank it higher than most of their other palettes that I own. So I like that they did something a little bit different. I think this is like their holiday collection, but it really does need a couple of different mattes in there, even some like colored ones. I just don't really think they picked the right shades. Like, who's gonna wear this peach? I mean, I guess for the transition, but I think maybe a more warm toned brown would have been better. Coming in at number 18, this one is from Ofra. Mine's a little bit dirty because I've been using it, but this is one of their new signature palettes. It's the Empowered one, and I do like Ofra palettes, but this one ranks more middle ground for me because some of the colors aren't super pigmented. I feel like this one's pretty light in tone, but I do love that it includes some fun greens in here. But there is other palettes that I do prefer from Ofra. It's definitely not my top favorite that they've come out with, so this one's just, you know, it's okay. I like the fun colors, but I wish it had a little bit more pigment. At number 17, you guys might be surprised that this is kind of not super high on my list, but it's the Pat McGrath Celestial Divinity palette. I do think this is a really pretty palette, and I'm really glad I paid only $75 for this instead of like $100 or something like that. To make it in the top tier, I feel like it needs to have a couple more mattes in here, and the shimmers in here are gorgeous. Like, you can get some amazing metallic lid shades with this, but some of them are just very chunky and really need a glitter glue to work with, and that's just a whole nother step that sometimes I don't really feel like taking. So for this luxury Pat McGrath brand, and it did disappoint me a little bit, I had to put it more in the middle. It's not necessarily a top for me. I do prefer her other palettes, like her Divine Rose Original is a favorite, even though it costs more. Some of the shimmers in here were just a little bit disappointing, but then some of them are really bomb. So it's just middle ground here at 17. At number 16, I have this little mini from Natasha Denona. This is the Mini Retro palette. I do think this is a really fun mini palette from her. I'm just starting to get into her minis. I have the Mini Glam as well. I do prefer Mini Glam. I don't have that one in this video because technically I think it came out in 2019, like at the very end. But I think this one's really fun. Once again, I love that it has the greens. It's kind of the first palette that kind of started this green trend, I feel like, that people are loving this year. They do look a little bit more gray on the eyes though, but I do think this is a really nice kind of all-in-one palette, so I did put it kind of in middle ground. I think we're at 15 now. This one's a newer one to me. Again, another Colourpop palette. As you guys can see, I love me some Colourpop. This is the Hocus Pocus palette, and even though I've only used this a couple times, I did put it up pretty high because A, it's Hocus Pocus, and B, I do really like the colors in here, and I've created already some really pretty looks. The color scheme is very Hocus Pocus to me, very fall tones with the purples. There's some dark golds, greens, and I think it has a little bit of something for everyone. There's light shades, medium, and dark, plus some nice shimmers in here. So I really like this one. I think I'm gonna like it a lot as I'm using it more. So this one is really good, and I have that at number 15. All right, number 14, I put my Jeffree Star Cremated palette. If this was early in the year, I would have ranked this a little bit higher, but I'm just not really using it a ton. I do really enjoy the formula of this. I think it is gorgeous. My drawbacks to this one is that a lot of those gray tones end up looking the same on the eyes. I just think it was a bit excessive the way he put so many shades in here. Like, we really don't need all these creams, all these grays, because they just end up looking the same. But there is some really pretty shimmers in here that just look beautiful. You can create some really stunning cool tone looks with this, and I do think the formula on here is very top notch, one of his best formulas in my opinion. But yeah, I think this really could have been condensed to a smaller palette, so that's why it's not in my like top 10. Number 13, I haven't really had a chance to talk about this one much on my channel because there's just been so many holiday things, but how cute is this? This is the Marc Jacobs holiday palette for this year, the Terrific palette, and I did put this one at number, what am I on? 13. I do think this one is a good palette. It's very pretty. You can create a really easy kind of monochromatic look with this. You can go very neutral, or you can add in the fun berry tones, but this is gorgeous on the eyes. The formula is very nice. Of course, it's very limited in shades, so I did rank it a little bit lower, but overall I think this is a really nice palette, plus the packaging is really cute. Number 12, we have a Too Faced palette. This one I believe came out this year, the Natural Nudes. I really liked this one as well. So many people love to give Too Faced a hard time, but the palettes that they've come out with this year have been pretty bomb, and they rank like very high in my collection. So I really love this Natural Nudes palette. It is one of my go-to neutral palettes because I feel like you get a mix of warm tones and cool tones. There's some pinkier tones in there as well. It's kind of all my favorite shades in one, so I really enjoy this. I think the formula on this is amazing, and if you guys haven't tried Too Faced palettes in a while because you thought they were garbage, like honestly, give them a try. Try their new stuff because you'll be surprised at what palette is in like my top 2. Number 11, we have this one from Sydney Grace, and this is the Tiny Marvels palette with Mel Thompson. Now, Sydney Grace formula in general, I'm very new to. I only have 2 palettes from her. I bought her purple palette and then this one, but I really haven't had a chance to use the purple one yet. So this one does rank really high in my collection, although I haven't used it a ton, I will admit. But the colors in here are gorgeous. The formula, 10 out of 10. She just has the best eyeshadow formula, so I'm definitely going to be picking up more from the brand. I think she's going to be doing some restock soon. I really want to get the Enduring Love palette from her, but this is beautiful. Like, these mattes blend like a dream. The shimmers are just so gorgeous, and I feel like Mel really created a fun, unique palette. I love the colors in this one. I just really need to use it more, but I feel like this is more like springtime for me, so I feel like I would pull it more out at that time, but still ranks very high in my palette collection. Okay, coming in at number 10, we have a group. This is the e.l.f. Bite Size palettes, and I was so impressed with them this year. This has to be one of the best drugstore launches of 2020. They are so cute, only $3 a piece. I've bought like every single color, but my favorite one, I always tell you guys, is the pumpkin pie, and it's perfect for this time of year. So pretty. I would compare the formula to like Colourpop formula. They're not like, oh my gosh, amazing, and since they only have 4 shades, sometimes the look is obviously going to be pretty repetitive, but I think these are nice just for a quick and easy look, and you really can't beat $3 for those. So clearly I'm obsessed. I have all of them. For number 9, this one kind of surprised me, but I've been using it a lot, so that's why I ranked it higher, even though the color scheme might not be the best for everyone, but for me, I use this all the time. It's the Colourpop Wild Nothing palette. So this is what it looks like, and this is a really nice everyday palette for me. Especially love it when I have photo shoots, just for an easy neutral eye. I can really brighten up my inner corner with like these shades. So gorgeous. I love this one the most, which is Coastline. These are lighter tones, so this is going to be a very natural light palette, but I really do use this a lot, and the formula is really nice on this, so I ranked that one at number 9. Coming in at number 8, we have another Ofra palette. I'm really liking their signature palettes. I got some new ones too for holiday that I didn't include in this ranking since I literally just tried them, but they've been impressing me. To be honest, they have a great formula. And this one is my friend Leora's palette. I think this is only available until Sunday. I think I saw that she said that on her stories. So if you want this, I would get it because it's amazing for fall. But yeah, this is her little palette that she curated with Ofra, and it has a really nice selection of colors. I think she did a great job picking out the shades. She picked really pigmented colors, and I love this highlight on top. I use it all over the lid. It's so pretty. That one's blissful. The yellow in here is very bright. I know yellows are hard to do, but this is just all around a gorgeous fall palette. Love it. So this one ranks pretty high on my list. For number 7, we have a Natasha Denona palette. This one is the bronze palette. I would have ranked this higher, but I do wish that it had a couple like darker mattes in here. There's a lot of kind of mid-tones in the palette, and I do think it could have used a darker matte. I do use the Deep Dive shade as like a dark matte outer corner color, but it's kind of hard to work with, so I do prefer something a little bit better, not so like shimmery. I'm sorry for all my fingerprints on there, but I do think this is a great everyday palette. It's very warm bronze tones, and I love her formula, love her quality. So I love that she came out with some really gorgeous neutral palettes this year at an more affordable price point. What are these, like 65 bucks? Her other big palettes are like in the $100 range, so I really enjoy these. At number 6, I haven't talked about this one for a while, but I did a review on this in the beginning of the year, and I actually really love this palette. So this one ranks at number 6. It's the ABH Norvina collection, I think volume 4. This is my first Norvina palette, and I was really happy with it. I think it is stunning. I love the colors in here. The mattes in here blend beautifully. The pigmentation is amazing, so I really love this one. I just feel like there's such a variety, a lot of looks that you can do, especially if you like pinks and purples. This one is really stunning. I did, I think, a 3 looks, 1 palette video on this one, and it's amazing. For number 5, I had to go with my Supreme Nudes from Artist Couture. You'll notice the rest of these palettes are pretty neutral, because that's what I wear for every day, so that's what I'm going to get the most use out of. I do really enjoy this one. This is one that always goes in and out of stock. I think the color scheme in here is gorgeous. It reminds me so much of the Anastasia and Makeup by Mario palette that is discontinued. I love that it has like very bronze tones, so that's why I picked this one over in the Natasha, because there's a little bit more variety with this, and I still feel like the formula is great. I feel like the mattes in here are a little bit on the drier side, but overall I feel like they blend really nice, and the shimmers are stunning. So that one ranks at number 5. Number 4 is a Colourpop palette. Surprisingly, it's the Going Coconuts. I use this one a lot. Now, this one, I had to buy a new one, so that's why that one looks like this, because my other one kind of broke and some of the shades were shattered. That's the really big drawback to these Colourpop palettes, is that the shades break so easily. I think that's probably why they're so cheap, because it's very frustrating, but luckily they don't cost a whole lot if you do need to replace them, and I wanted to replace this because it's definitely a go-to neutral palette for me from their line. It's just so beautiful. My favorite Colourpop palette of all time. Let me know if you guys want a Colourpop ranking video, because I definitely could do one of those, but Going Coconuts is amazing. Alright, top 3. We have the Pure and Raw Beauty KRISTI palette. I did do a video on this one. Well, I've done a video like on all of these practically, but yes, I enjoyed this one a lot. I was very surprised because I'm not a big fan of Pure Shadows. I did like those Trolls palettes, but everything else from them I just wasn't that impressed with. But I love that it has the colorful side and the more neutral side, and although it doesn't have very many shimmers, there's really only 2 shimmers in here. I feel like she did pick the perfect colors that could go with everything. And like I said, I do prefer more mattes in my palettes because I feel like you could do more with it, but yeah, the colors in here blend out so gorgeous. It's definitely higher quality than the other Pure palettes. I did a beautiful teal look with this, and it's just so beautiful. So this one's in my top 3. I wish this one was permanent. I feel like they're done doing that one, unfortunately, but it's probably something I'm going to try and keep this in my collection for a while. Even though I do tend to declutter limited stuff, this palette is just so nice. Okay, number 2. Can we guess what my last 2 are? What have I not spoke about yet? Okay, we have Natasha Denona Glam palette. This one is definitely my favorite Natasha palette ever. It's so beautiful. I love that she did a cool tone palette because I do sorry, this mirror is so bad. I do prefer cool tones for my eyeshadows. I feel like it looks so good with blue eyes, so I love that she did this. I feel like the tones in here are perfect. It has the perfect amount of mattes for me. They have light, medium, and deep tones in here, and I feel like the shimmers in here are gorgeous as well. It's kind of similar to my Jeffree Star Cremated, but I like this one a lot more. The Jeffree Star is a lot more gray tone. This one's still very wearable, so this one is my number 2 palette. Highly recommend that if you are going to splurge on a palette. And then we have at the number 1 spot, you guys might be shocked, but it is the Too Faced Pumpkin Spice Palette. You're probably like, really? You're gonna put a Too Faced palette at number 1? But absolutely, this palette is incredible. I have worn this so much, more than any of my other palettes I have bought this year, because it has so many different shades that you can do. A lot of people say this looks so boring, but honestly, there's a lot you can do with it. It's neutral, but you have green looks you can do. There's purple looks you can do. You could do an all matte look if you want. You could go very neutral. There's pinks, golds. I feel like it's very colorful, and it totally reminds me of fall time. So this has been my go-to palette right now. I think the quality on this one is amazing. Is it as great as my Natasha Denona quality? Probably not, but I can get a lot more looks with this, and I still feel like the quality is very good, because we know Too Faced can sometimes be hit or miss, but I feel like this year they have been a hit with their palettes. So definitely recommend getting this one, my number 1 palette right now, and I think I can wear this throughout the whole year. It is stunning. So that is it for this 2020 palette ranking. I feel like I've been talking so long that I am starting to lose my voice a little bit, but I hope you guys enjoyed this. Hopefully it was helpful. I'm sorry if I didn't give like a good enough description, but sometimes it's hard to, like, especially with the middle palettes, to rank them, because I feel like they're all very similar, and some of them could be like the same number, but I feel like I did pretty good with my rankings. Let me know what you guys think. If you agree with these rankings, if you disagree, let me know, or also let me know like what palettes you've been loving this year. I would love to know, and I'm gonna let you guys go. Thanks so much for watching. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye guys.